Hey, good morning. I would like to share the answer keys for the review questions for the topic basic concepts in assessment. Okay, number one, we have here Mr. Santos noted that Christine obtained a score of 40 points out of 50 in the unit test, which the following is exemplified in the situation. Okay, so just take note of the keyword here, 40 out of 50. So that indicates a measure. So therefore, correct answer there, it's measurement. Okay. When we say assessment, assessment is, so there's a gathering of data, then there is a gathering of information. The purpose there is um, the purpose for assessment is to improve learning, to provide feedback and improve learning. However, for the evaluation is you give judgment. No? In measurement, okay, when you say measurement, it does not necessarily assessment is involved for evaluation as long as you are giving numerical values onto an observation or an attribute that is measurement. Testing is just simply administering the test. Okay. Next one we have here Mr. Abisamis, a social studies teacher, is about to discuss Spanish colonization in the Philippines to his grade 5 students. He asks open-ended questions and records the response of the students. What was the purpose of his assessment? Okay, so it states there Mr. Abisamis is about to discuss, meaning it's more of onto the introduction, no? So before he introduced the topic, he asked open-ended questions. Okay, so the most correct answer here is, so usually what do you do before? So it's more of like a review, right? Or you try to do a diagnosis, whether students learn about the new topic or not. So I guess the most correct answer here is more of the letter C, no? Assessment as diagnosing learner difficulties or misconception. No? By asking open-ended questions, Mr. Abisamis is doing a diagnosis. Program evaluation that usually done at the end of the class. Assessment as instruction providing feedback that is usually during. No, it could be done before, but the question is, the situation is that Mr. Abisavis is about to discuss. Assessment is determining progress along the developmental continuum. Okay, that is happening before, during, and after. So it's continuous. But what is being done here is before the instruction. So that is why letter C is the most correct answer. Which of the following shows relevance of assessment to the administrators? Okay, administrators usually they're at the office, but they are not involved in uh, teaching, right? So if we do letter A, diagnose, that's usually done by a teacher. Giving feedback to students about progress, it's about the teacher. discover learning areas that require special attention that is for the teacher. So for the administrators is that they are going to plan and conduct faculty development program, for their teachers. So letter C here is the most correct answer. Okay, this role of assessment helps students to identify his appropriate path or course to the following, follow both in terms of achievement and attitude. So it's more of when you are going to, when the student take the test and based on his result, based on his result, he will be into assigned into a path or course. So there's assignment or placement. No? So that is the primary purpose of assessment. So to assign you to a certain grade level, or let us say if you are a very advanced kid, no, let's say you are a genius, for example, no? So based on your aptitude, you belong to the grade 12. So the next year you will be assigned to grade 12. Or let us say, for example, the NCAI, for example, no? Based on your NCAI, um, uh, not really NCAI, no? Let us say your entrance exam, for example, entrance exam for the test. Okay, it says here, you are not really good at math, so you will not really belong to engineering. So you will be assigned to another course or another pathway. Okay. Or let us say in the sectioning. So based on your aptitude, you will be belong to the science class or an FL class. If you are an average, so you belong to the regular class. So that's the purpose of a placement assessment. Diagnostic, let's say diagnostic that is done before the class, no? Done before. Uh, that is usually determine the strength, weaknesses of the students, and misconceptions. Formative, formative is to check if teacher is going to adjust her teaching or his teaching, or let us say an assessment that is done during an instruction that could be also formative. If to check if this particular example did the student get this concept, and if not, the teacher will do or redo the example. So that is formative. Summative, that is usually done at the end. So at the end of the class, so that will determine, or that the purpose of that is to determine how much the student has learned, to determine how much the student has learned about a particular unit or chapter. No, there is a periodical exam that is an example of a summative assessment. To which type of assessment does assessment for learning refer? Okay, in your SAS and in your SAS and in your lecture notes, it states there both diagnostic and formative. But assessment for learning, so you do assessment for learning. So it's more of a preparation. It's more of a preparation, right? So therefore, the best answer here is for diagnostic rather than formative. And usually assessment for learning is done before the class. So the best one here is diagnostic. In what way students involved in formative process? So formative is usually during class. So evaluate instruction, that is summative. Show proof of learning, that is also summative. Set their own learning goals, that is also, it's more of diagnostic. Uh, it may not be diagnostic, but somehow it is done before class. So monitor their ongoing process or progress is the best answer here because this is done during the class. Okay, when teacher Anna wanted her students to reflect on their lesson about the effects of producing greenhouse gases, what purpose of assessment as exemplified? So the keyword here is reflect. No? Reflect. So the best answer here is assessment as learning. We say assessment as learning. Um, Students here is involved in their learning. So based on what they learn, uh, based on what how they assess, they also learn. So that's assessment as learning or self-learning, or self-assessment. They call it as self-assessment. Assessment as learning is the same as self-assessment. It says here. Mr. Roanto administered an exam in which the result of the exam will determine whose students will pass or fail in Edu 533. What action is exemplified in this situation? Okay, the test here, the test here is the test here is used to judge if the student will fail or pass. So there's judgment here. So therefore, this is evaluation rather than an assessment. When you say assessment, the purpose of doing the activity or test or performance task is to determine uh, how much the student have learned for the basis of uh, giving feedback, as well as if monitor learning or improve learning. That's assessment. But evaluation, you give judgment. So usually, when grade is involved, that is already evaluation. Okay, a paper and pen test is an example of what mode of assessment. Okay, that's obvious. So that is a traditional assessment. So another name for traditional assessment is the paper and pen test. In FINMA schools, the passing rating of board type subjects is 60%. What type of assessment comparison is shown in the given situation? Okay, it says here assessment, uh, the assessment or scores or performances are compared against a specific standard or a springboard, which is 60%. No? So that is a standard, 60%. So if it's based, if the performance or scores are compared to a particular standard, that is criterion based. Okay, so that is criterion based. So I guess that's it. So that's it for the discussion. of this review.